Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just give me a minute. Okay. So today, I think so. In the last class, we are finished with sources. How to configure a source for you, and how to do the freshness check of each source, and how to get warnings or errors while checking the source freshness things. Okay. So today we will be discussing about the testing part, testing of our models and testing of our sources. Okay.
Sir,
So
have you is this uploaded in the Google Drive, sir? All the scripts?
this script, I think the video is uploaded, might not be the scripts.
Please upload, sir, because it will be helpful for my practice.
Yeah, sure. I'll upload them. Okay. Yep. So coming to sources, sorry, testing. So we will be discussing more about the testing, like how we are, how we are going to test our models, how we are going to test our sources, and why testing our models would be crucial while doing the data engineering. Okay. And how are we going to configure the different types of tests on our models and our sources. Okay. So we'll be discussing about all those topics here. Okay. And I mean, let's just begin with like why regularly we do the testing of our data. Okay. So let's say like so a data engineer has built a project or a flow. Okay. So now and then so we might be getting there will be cases where we may get bad data or dirty data. Okay. So apart from the initial cleanups or checkups, what we did while developing the project, apart from that, so we might get some other bad data as well from the source. And there are most regular case would be, so whatever the final dashboards or the final reports that we build on our data, so from there the data might be missing from the dashboards. So sometimes you don't see the data that is required on the dashboards. So you see on an average you see very less number for a particular week or a particular month. Okay. So now in these within these times, so what you have to do, so the works come back to the data engineer. So because the analytics people doesn't do anything, so they just highlight the issue. So they'll just send you back saying some data is missing or the dashboard is looking odd. So maybe you have to check on the data. So the data engineer has to check all the tables here, or he has to do all the debugging. He has to spend some hours based on the criticality. So on the complexity, he has to spend some hours on debugging where the data is missing, because the in real time the flow would be not as simple as this. So the flow would be very huge. So there would be many intermediate tables, and we will be picking up sources from different tables or from different raw data, and we'll be applying all so many number of logics there. So the flow would be huge. So data engineer has to go through each and every intermediate table, each and every task in between the transformation. And then, so he has to know if there is any data. If he finds some data missing, again, he has to do the reload on everything, every kind of things. Okay. So the thing is, so data engineer has to do all the things. So he initially data engineer doesn't know so whether he has some data issue or not, right? So only when someone highlights it, only when the data went to the final reports or the final dashboards, okay, the users or the analytics team, so will have to see the data visually or graphically. So then only they would highlight that, and then the data engineer gets to know, I mean, there is something wrong with the data. So then he has to do all the debugging kind of thing. Okay. So now, so in DBT, what we can do is, so instead of getting notified by other teams or the final stakeholders, so while running the models itself or while doing the transformations, so you can configure the project such a way that it can do the testing also on the run. Okay. So for these models, you can write some, there are some tests like general tests and the similar tests. So which will be very specific to those models. So you can configure one of those kind of testing things in DBT. So what that will do is, so while doing the transformation or while running the project itself, it will do a quick check on the data. So based on the testing conditions you have given, it will kind of test the data. So whether the data which is coming through the raw tables is passing our requirement or not. So that majorly depends on how you write the script, how you write the test. Apart from the generic tests, so which will be common to all the models. So there will be tests which are particular to models, okay, which we can write particularly to one model. Okay. So the testing depends on your logic, how you write the logic. So based on that logic, so DBT, whenever the project is running, so it will kind of do a quick test on those models, and it will kind of notify you so that there is something wrong with the data. Okay. So before the data going to the final stakeholders or the final users, so you will be notified first of all. So first of all, you will get notified that there is something wrong with the data. So there might be some data missing or counts are low, or there might be some nulls coming out, there might be some extra things coming out. So based on your data, based on your past observation of the data, you can write multiple tests on a project to check all those kind of things. So only when the model or the data coming from the raw data or from the intermediate table, so if the data passes through all those conditions, then only the project would be done. So otherwise you would get notified. So if there is any error coming out of that. So what happens is, so before the data going out to the final users, so you will get notified first, and you will have a quick chance to fix all the data, and you can notify them. So instead of they notifying you, you can notify them so there is some issue with the data, you're working on it. And once it is done, you can update them. So it would be very easy. So why? Because so if there is any data, so you are the data engineer is the one who gets all the blame. So if the final user gets the wrong data, and he has to do all the analysis, and finally he comes out with a thing that the data is wrong. So without all of that first, so the data engineer will get the notified first. So that way, so the engineer's work will be very easy. Okay. So is it clear for you guys? So what we do in the testing here? Any doubts?
So the validation part for the raw tables, okay.
Yes.
What are all the things which we needed? Those will be kind of provided at the time of development, or it's kind of like our own understanding. We have to deep dive into that raw data, and we have to write the scripts to have a validation.
See, so in DBT, there are kind of generic tests are there. So which are predefined from DBT. So
Mhm.
you can apply those tests also. Okay. Instead of you writing a script, you can apply those generic tests. Generic tests will not be more. Okay, there are only a few. Okay, but the two they are kind of basic things, but needed ones. Okay, they are basic, but they are needed. Those checks are needed. And on top of that, based on your data, so based on your observation of your raw data, you can write your own scripts.
So
Sorry.
once we wrote this whole script, okay,
Mhm.
where exactly we have to place that into data lineage?
See, you don't have to place them in the data lineage. So they will be just sitting in your project. So they are just another ML files or SQL files. Okay, these testing scripts are just another ML files or the SQL files. So which
But
will
like,
be yes.
will those scripts will be invoked during our execution of
So that depends on
our model?
how we that depends on how we deploy a project, how we want that project to run. Okay, so we are having different models, right? Different folders here. Okay, so if we have the models folder, inside the models folder also we have some, we can do some quick, we can apply some quick tests. So we do have some this tests kind of folder is also there. You see, right?
Mhm.
So in the test folder also we can create some kind of files. So where our testing script will be sitting. Okay. So
Okay.
once whenever the project is running, so it will go through all the folders. So what kind of things we have given. Okay. So there would be dependencies. Okay. So it will
Okay.
go through all those things. So if there is any file that is available for testing, it will definitely do that.
Okay.
Okay. So what can we so testing scripts are just writing a SQL. Okay. So during the development itself, during the development of any particular flow. So right now we have developed 3 models, right? So we have developed, we have developed staging tables, customers, orders, payments, and we have developed for final data marks, that is dim customers and factors, right? So while doing the development for these models itself, so we can write the test case for them. So during the development itself, we can test your testing scripts. So first you have to test your testing scripts. Okay, then only you should finalize them. Okay. So it's not like, while you write all those things, you just, without testing, you just write your testing script and put it there in the folder. So it's not that case. So testing scripts also need to be tested during the development itself. Okay. So you just have to write a test case on your own, not the generic ones. Your scripts that are very particular to your models, you have to write those scripts. So during the development itself, you have to do some couple of trial runs on those testing things. So to see whether your testing script is working fine or not. Okay. So once you feel that testing script is fine and it is working fine, so you have to pass, bad data, intentionally. So you have to pass some bad data and you have to see whether your testing script is working according to your logic or not. Then only you have to embed that in your project. Okay, or else you have to do some quick modifications on top of your logic. Okay. Is this clear?
Okay.
Some, as I said, the testing scripts are also another SQL or YAML files. So we'll be writing a SQL logic inside those things. Okay. Clear? So why we need testing is, testing is an integral part of the development. Whatever the development, whether it is web development or data development, or if it is any new project or anything. So testing is very mandatory. So the developers have to have that mindset of testing what they have built. Some organizations might have the testing teams. Okay. But so it is very crucial that the developer himself tests his model or tests his own logic. Okay. So once he feels that logic is good enough, so then only that model or the project will be sent to the further levels, like testing or user acceptance testing, UAT, something. Okay. So only when the developer feels confident, so that code will be merged and sent it to the final. Okay. People like usually who might be working on the data might know all those things. So they might be exporting some CSV or Excel files. So they'll be creating a valid condition to validate the data to move the data to the next task. Okay. So right after the load, so they'll be doing some select statements on the tables where the data is loaded, and they'll just scroll through all the tables to just find some anomalies throw some little bugs to make sure everything is loaded correctly. Okay, so this kind of testing mindset is very crucial for the developer. Okay, so there can be, in DBT, particular DBT, like I said, there are mainly two kinds of testing things are there. So one is singular tests, and another one is generic tests. Okay, so these are the two types of tests available in DBT. Okay, singular tests, are like the name implies, they are applied probably to, they're very particular to one or two models. They cannot be applied on all the models, so they would be very particular to one or two models, and these models they assert something specific about that logic. They kind of help us in making some logic only on top of those models. Okay, just clear about the singular tests. Okay, so and there is one more classification of tests, so which is generic tests. Okay, so they can be highly scalable. Scalable as in they can be applied to multiple models. They can be applied to multiple models, not just one model. So these are, by default, so these generic tests are there are only four kind of tests that are available in the generic test. So only those four logics or only those four conditions can be applied on all the models. This is not specific to only one model. Okay, so in the generic test, so what you're doing is you are just writing a couple of lines of YAML code, and you can just place them in anywhere in the models folder. Okay, so they are easy, they are very easy to write. So you just have to specify. So you just have to specify the test name. That's it. Okay, so the logic for the test name will be defined in the backend of the DB. Okay, so there are only four types of generic tests available. So one is unique, not null, accepted values, and relationships. Okay, so these four are really easy to apply on your project right away. Okay, so these, by the as you can see the names, so they are very easy to apply. So on what columns these can be applied. Okay, so if you see the unique and not null tests, so they can be mainly applied on your primary keys. So which column, so the columns which you feel, so they don't have any, they are like unique. If the columns which you feel like as unique identifiers on probably on those columns, you can apply these two, unique and not null kind of test. You can do these two kind of tests. Okay, so that they don't just break the downstream. So here you don't have to write in script. You just have to specify that do that unique generic test on my model. That's it. Okay, is clear?
So those generic tests will be auto executed.
See, whenever they are inside the project, so they will be run.
So how to create these all then?
Yeah, so we have to write in a separate YAML file for this. Okay, so just like how we have written in the models for the source of all kind of things. So we have written YAML files, right? Just like that, we have to write some YAML files also. Okay, so if you feel there are some other generic tests you can apply on all your models or on the most of the models. So apart from these four generic tests available by default from DBT, you can write your own scripts. Just like how I said for singular tests. So generic tests are also can be user defined. So where they can be scalable, where they can be applied on multiple models, not just on one or two models. Okay, so we can write our own custom generic tests also. Okay, is this clear? So
Okay.
usually singular tests are, bound to one or two models mostly. So they are particular to those one or two models. So that's why we call them as singular tests. But generic tests are scalable across all the models or most of the models in your project, because unique, not null, accepted values relationships can be applied on all types of data. So which is kind of whether it might be intermediate models or any final models or the source models, you can just apply these kind of tests generically to all the models. So in generic test itself, apart from this default 4 tests, you can write your own scripts. So which will be applicable on all the models. Okay. So for that, to be able to write your own custom generic tests, so we might be needing some kind of learning on the Jinja and macros. So, so by using those things, so we will be able to write our own custom generic scripts. Okay. So we just have to need a bit of touch of Jinja and macros. Okay. So we will be discussing about those things later. Okay. Now let's just see about the generic tests. Okay. So as you know, so there are only 4 types of testings: unique, not null, accepted, and relationship. So just go over one by one. So just a one-liner. Okay. So unique test, make sure every value in a particular column is different, and there should be no duplicates in the wherever the unique test is performed in that column. There should be no duplicates, and each value in that column should be different. Okay. So I'm pretty sure, so as you people are working on the data, you might be knowing about this unique, not null. Just the names change, accepted values and relationships. Okay. Right. You might be knowing all these things, right? Unique and not null. Is anyone new to these constraints or the check tests? Please let me know. Are you guys good with this? Unique or not null?
Yes.
We'll just make it a one-liner. Okay. And the next test is not null test. So not null, make sure that there are no null values coming through that column. Okay. So in that particular column, there shouldn't be any nulls available. Okay. And so we have the one more test, which is accepted values. So accepted values has some predefined values in the test. Predefined values. Okay. So let's say, so we have a table, we have a model where the data about Bangalore employees is loaded. Okay. So the location in that Bangalore employees table should be, if by default, Bangalore. Okay. So only Bangalore is the accepted value in the location column. If you give somewhere around Hyderabad or Chennai, so the model will fail, because so in the accepted value testing, so we have given the condition that that model should accept only Bangalore as a value in the location column. So if you give another values, so that would be failed. So this is kind of like a, if you know about the SQL, this is kind of like a check constraint for a column. Okay, check constraint. So that is about accepted values. So relationships are just like, primary key and foreign key in our MS SQLs. Okay. So you guys know about the concept of relationships. The primary key and foreign key.
Yes.
Okay. No. So it's just, each value in a column in one table should already be available in the any column of another table. So where we'll be referencing to each other. Okay. The relationships is each value in the column exists in the column of another table, just to maintain referential integrity. So we will be referencing both the columns of both the tables. Okay. So one table, whenever we try to insert the data, so whatever the data we try to insert into that column, so that value should already be available in the another table. So then only it will accept that value. Otherwise, it will not accept those values. Okay. Is this clear about all those 4 tests? So
Yep.
these are just, as I said, these are very generic tests, so which can be applied to all the models. Clear? So now, so what we will do is, so we will just try to apply these generic tests on our models and see how they work. Okay. So first, so we have to create, as I said, we have to create a separate files for these generic tests. So separate YAML files. Okay. So we have to, so in that YAML file, so we have to configure our testing things. Okay. So what I'll do is, so inside the staging, so we have this Jaffle Sharp source. Okay. Inside the Jaffle Sharp, I'll try to create a new file. So I'll name it as staging. So here, if you see, so I'm going to create a new YAML file for my testing purpose. I'm going to create that in the models folder under staging and under Jaffle Sharp schema. Okay. I'm just creating it. So this is our models thing. Okay. So this is a version, so which DBT recommends, which we have to use. So in our files. So here what we have to do is, so we just have to give the model names, and you have to give the column names on which you want to perform your testing. I mean, whatever the testing you want to perform, you have to give the test name, and you have to give the model name and the column, and in that model on which column you want to perform the test. So you have to give all those details. Okay. So here let's just say write some YAML code. Okay. So we will be starting with models. So and it will ask for the model name. Okay. So I will be performing the data on the customers model, stage customers. Okay. Let's just preview the data. So if we see here, so these are the three columns that are coming out of this customers model. And if you see here, we have this customer ID column, right? So this customer ID column is very, unique identifier for each of the customer. Okay. So we have to make sure each customer gets a different customer ID. So this customer ID cannot be null or cannot be null, and it cannot be, there cannot be any duplicates, right? So because so based on this customer ID column itself, we are in our final DIM customers model, which is in data marts. So we are finding out the total lifetime value of a particular customer and total number of orders he has placed. Okay, all those things. So we are getting based on the customer ID column. So that's why this column should be unique, and there should be no nulls coming out of this customer ID column. Okay. So we are going to give the same test. So it should be unique and it should be not unique. So these are the two tests, so that we are going to apply on the customer ID column in the customers model. Okay. String underscore customers. And we have to give columns. Now we have to give the column names here. So and what are the column names we want on what column we want to perform? We want to perform it on customer ID. Let's give the customer ID, and we have to give the tests. Okay. So what are the tests we want to perform? We want to perform unique, and not new. So these are the two tests which we want to perform on the customer ID column in stage customers model. Okay, is this clear? Any doubts?
Yes. Yeah, it's good. like if possible, show like how can we have kind of like a relationship and accepted value as well.
Okay. Sure.
Is how to define that.
Yep. So first, let's see like how this thing is going to work. Okay. So I'll just try to run the customers model. So let's just so here what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to run the customers model here. So it's so I'm just trying to run the customers model here. So, best. So if you see here, so I'm running here, select stage customers. I'm running the DBT test command. DBT test, and you have to give the what your particular model name. Okay. Test will see that one. Customer. Okay, if you see here, our customer, the column
Understood.
name which we have given is wrong. So let's give underscore here. Just confirm. This is customer underscore ID. So this and run the command again. Yes, our tests have succeeded. Now let's see. So if you see, each test will be performed separately. First one, what it did. So if you see the name, so the first will be the test name, and second will be the model name, and third will be the column on which the test has been performed. Just go, let's go into the details. So if you see, this is the test it is doing. This will perform this will write its own script. So this script we haven't given to the DBT. It will write its own script and just verify so whether whether we have some unique things or whether we have duplicates. Okay. So what you can do is you can just copy this particular query which DBT is using here from here to here. You can just data warehouse. Okay, then you will see what kind of things it is getting from this query and how it is deciding. So whether the customer ID column is having unique things or not. Okay, we can just try to run this particular query here. So if you see here, if it is succeeded, that means we don't have any values inside that customer ID. So if there was any null values, so we can see this test failing here. Okay. The same way for the unique test also. Okay. So unique test also based on the same customer ID column, it will be doing
Hello.
Seems power outage.
I think he got dropped off, right?
Yeah. Oh no, just look out.
Hello. Are you guys able to hear me now?
We cannot see anything.
Okay.
Seems you need to reshare it.
Yep. What is this event? Just a minute, guys.
No, it's not visible yet.
Yeah.
Just
So I know. So I'm trying to share it is disabled. Let me just continue.
someone has to make you a host. It seems.
Yep. Yep.
Ravi Shankar has to make you as a like host.
Right.
Then
Ravishankar
only
is
it
your
will be.
host now.
Yeah, Ravi Shankar is the host now. So he has to like give
Make
you
me host.
right.
Just
Ravi?
check.
Yeah,
I
you
have
are
my
host now.
access.
Yes. What is name? Are you guys able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah. So we are discussing about the unique testing of that. So if you see, so for unique also it has prepared a query. So here in this query, if you see, it is checking for the duplicates here. So for each customer ID, it is checking for number of records grouped by customer ID. So here what it is trying to check is it is trying to check for duplicates. Okay. If this record returns any value, that means it has a duplicate. The table has some duplicate values. So now then our model would fail. So if this particular query doesn't return any records, that means there are no duplicates available. So our the customer IDs column is very unique, right? This is how DBT does the generate tests. Okay. So now, we will try to write the same things on the stage orders as well. Okay.
So like whatever the YAML file which we have created, okay, that will get automatically associate with like what are the stage validation which we needed, right?
Yes.
It seems
See.
like that only.
So why? Because here we are referring to the models. If you see,
Yeah.
so here we are
Okay.
directly giving the model name. So we are giving the model name and the column name as well.
But like while executing the test, we are not at all like calling this particular YAML, right? Okay, we are calling the model, right?
Yes, we are
So
calling the model there. But what the command we are giving is DBT test.
yes. So
Okay.
how come like DBT come to know that like this particular YAML file is gonna use for the test only?
So see, all our models are in SQL files. Okay. So only the sources and these testings are here in the YAML files now. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So whenever we do the DBT test, so it will check the file for where these tests are available. Okay. So
So
then
like
yeah.
we can put this all into like what are the source which we have created in there also we can put that.
Yes, so we have the concept of testing our sources as well. So here, if you see, right now we are testing only our models. We are not testing our sources.
No, like this file which we created, src underscore shop.yaml. Okay,
Yes.
can we place this code in that particular file
Yes, we
if
can. We can place it. Yes,
yeah.
that's what I'm telling.
Huh.
So here, if you see, we are now right now testing our models. We are not testing our raw data or the sources, right? So
Okay.
if you want to test your sources, you can put the same testing concept in your source YAML file as well. Okay.
Okay.
So this is testing of if you put our testing concepts here in the source file, so that will be called, that will be treated as a testing of our sources or the testing of the raw data. Okay. So if you are creating some separate YAML files, okay, so this will be called as testing of our models, not the raw data. So models can be some, they can be intermediate. So once the data comes out of the sources, so there will be some in between staging tables or any intermediate table set. So for all those things, we have models here, right? Staging orders and staging customers or the intermediate models that we have created. So for those models, so we have written the tests here. If you want to directly test the source, you can directly put these things. So whatever the testing conditions we have given, so you can directly put those things here in the source YAML file.
Okay.
Okay, is clear?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see the testing of the stage orders along with the accepted values and the order ID things. Okay. So right now, so we are what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to test the staging orders as well. Okay. So here again we have to give the column names. The column name, so in staging orders, let's just be the data. So it is order ID here. And we have to give the test which we want to perform. So we are going to write the same test, unique and not null. So again, so the same on the order ID level also. So I'm trying to work out the same things. So here the order ID should be unique for each customer. For every order he places, so the order ID should be unique. So he cannot have the same order ID again repeating again and again. Okay. So that's why I've given the same conditions again on the order ID column, the staging orders model as well. Okay. So this is fine. And so if you see, so there is something called status that is coming out of our staging orders model. If you see here, right? So there are something called returned, completed. So they can. So there are the what is this? What is this? So this is the status of the particular order. So it can be failed, it can be completed, it can be successful, right? So all these values that are coming into the status model could be predefined. Okay. So for every customer, it cannot change. So apart from those, 4 or 5 different values, so the value in the status ID cannot be different other than those 4 or 5 values, right? So the status can be, defined by the organization. So if that is failed, let's say if the transaction is failed, so what should be the status? So whether it should be defined as failed, or it should be defined as not completed, or it should be defined as not successful. That depends on the organization. Okay, the organization defines. So what should be the outcome of the particular transaction? Okay, if it is successful, they can call it as successful, or they can call it as completed, or they can call it as payment done. Okay, the terms which we use are predefined from the organization. Okay, so based on those predefined values, so they will get to know the status of that particular transaction. Okay, that means in this status column, so only some predefined values should come, not just like any other random values. Only some predefined values should come here. Okay, is this clear about the status column?
Yes.
Okay. So here what we're going to do now is, so we are going to kind of define some predefined values to this status column. So we are going to write. So right now what we did is, so we have written the test for the order ID column. Now for the same model, so we are going to write tests for the status column. Okay, let's see. So we have to give inside the columns, under the columns, you don't have to write from here. And if you see the black line highlighted, so under that means, so we are writing the name under the columns. So that means we have to write the column name here. So what is our column name? Status. Okay. And you have to write the test that should be performed. So here what we are trying to do is, so we are trying to verify the accepted values test. Okay. Accepted values. So under the accepted values, you have to write this phrase called values, and under the values, you have to give those values which you want to be tested. Okay. So whatever the values that you give here, only those values are allowed inside the table. Apart from these 4, 5 values, so other values are not allowed. Okay. Let's see. So one would be returned and completed and placed. Okay, second, these are things. Okay. So, yeah. So these, apart from these 3 values, no other value is allowed into that status column. Okay. So these are the 3 accepted values, and on the order ID columns, we are trying to perform these 2 tests. Okay. Let's just save it. So let's try to test the staging model. So now if you see, it is trying to run 3 tests. One is ordinal test, one is unique test, and another one is accepted values test. Okay. So these are the 4 tests. So which it is trying to perform on the orders table. So the same thing. So if you see the unique details, it will be, you will be checking this code for the uniqueness of the field, and for the not null things, it will be checking for, it will be running this query to check the not null constraints. Okay, whether it has, if it has any null value or not. See, it has a where condition where order ID is null. If it is written, if this query is written in a records, that means it has a null value. If this query is not returning any values, that means it does the order ID column doesn't have any nulls. Okay, so this accepted values has failed. Let's see. If you see, so this is the query which DBT is submitting to the data warehouse to find the given values are available or any other values are available or not. So whenever you're trying to do the testing things, so just go to the details and copy the query which DBT is using and try to execute them on your data warehouse. Okay. So just for in the beginning for practice, you will see what kind of test, what kind of query this is, and you can just debug these things. So within the CTE, what it is trying, and in the final segment, what it is trying. Okay. So you can just, analyze how the query is working here that is submitted by DBT. So if you see our test has failed, that means apart from these 3 values, so there are 2 more values, so that are coming out of our staging orders model. Okay. So let's just here. So we have 5 values that is coming out of the orders table. So we have given only 3, that has applied class failed. So we have given returned, completed, and placed. And we should give the return pending as well as shipped. Let's just keep those values as well. Let's run the test again in the stage orders table. See, now our accepted values test is successful. So apart from the given values, so we are not getting any other values out of those tables. Okay. So if you see, it has added return pending and shipped values to the final query. Okay. Is this clear? How we can use this unique
Yes.
not null and accepted values for the
Yes.
relationships? So I might have to create some other tables. Right now I don't have the data ready for that. So yeah, so we will discuss about the singular tests and the test in the next class. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So we will try to create some generic steps for your table, and we will try to run those steps. Okay. And we will try to see the testing of the sources. So in the same source file, so we will try to embed this testing concept here in the same YAML file. Okay. Is this clear?
We can.
Okay, fine. Okay. Tomorrow we'll discuss further more about the sources. Okay, fine. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.